Let's welcome back to WS. Always great to have him. Greg Hinz, politics reporter and columnist for Crain Chicago Business. Greg, hope you had a good weekend.
I did, John. Yourself?
It went very well, thank you. So, as you wrote, Larry Snelling, that's a positive, correct?
Yeah, the new police chief, I'm hearing good things about him just about everywhere. And what's interesting is it's conservatives, liberals, progressives, not progressives. Interestingly, Brandon Johnson picked this guy, but Paul Vallis, the guy Johnson beat in the mayoral election, said he went around the top of his list, too. You can't do much better than that.
Where does Brandon Johnson get talent with such a thin resume?
Well, you have to have friends, and you have to kind of put out a public appeal that, hey, we're going to do something new. This is new and different. We're going to turn around the city. We're going to go down a new direction and kind of inspire people to come in. But that will only take you so far. It always helps to have connections and people you've worked with and all sorts of folks lined up. And in Mr. Johnson's case, it's a limited amount because he hasn't been in government very long. A lot of them tend to be Chicago Teachers Union people. He can't give the CTU all to Johnson City Hall. So he's relied, among other things, on Tony Preckwinkle for some aides, some of which are very good. His financial team came off of Preckwinkle's shop, and they have a good reputation. But it's tough. And you're going to make some mistakes, and he made a pretty good one last week.
With Arwady.
Yeah, firing the city's health commissioner. It's not so much that he didn't have a right to bring his own team, but it's the way he did it. I mean, she never got a chance to talk to him. Did it on a Friday afternoon. They kind of ran her out of the building. She didn't get to say goodbye to her staff. That's kind of butch because nothing else that sends a message to other people who might want to be interested in working for him and look at how he treats people. Not very smart.
I had heard that maybe a power play by the health department, if not the doctor herself, some of her underlings, a power play had boomeranged on them and peeved the mayor.
There is a possibility of that. What you're referencing, John, is the Board of Health wrote a letter that was signed by the entire board, I believe, urging Johnson to keep her. That may not have been a very politic action, but nonetheless, if you're the mayor and you're recruiting people, you have to look past your own peak. You have to think about how your actions are going to come across to potential staffers.
It also
did not come across well.
Right, and it also looks as if he was a puppet of the Chicago Teachers Union. Didn't they factor that in as well?
The only person who can fully answer that is Mr. Johnson himself. Certainly, the CTU did not like the way Dr. Arwady pretty much forced them to begin classes again as the epidemic began to abate faster than they wanted. But there were some other things. There were some other policy differences there, too. Remember the closing of the mental health centers that Rahm Emanuel did created a big stink. The unions got quite upset about it. Lori Lightfoot said she was going to reverse that and never did. Instead, they implemented a policy where they brought in private contractors to try to fill the holes. Arwady stuck up for her boss and said, well, I agree with Mayor Lightfoot, we can handle this. Maybe that was smart, maybe that was not smart, but that's part of it, too.
What's on the horizon that he's going to have to deal with? The CTA, obviously. There's other vacancies that he has to fill quickly, doesn't he?
Well, the ones I kind of keep an eye on are ones that affect our readers. It's Crain Chicago Business, after all. He had promised to appoint a deputy mayor for corporate liaison, as it were. Still haven't got anybody. They've had a whole bunch of turndowns from what I'm hearing. We don't have a planning commissioner who's in charge of development. We don't have, by all indications, the head of the CTA is about to go soon. Don't know about the Park District, but the city's transportation commissioner recently resigned. Those are all pretty good jobs, and he needs competent people in there.
There's something I've been hearing about since the pandemic, and I don't think it's yet to hit. Commercial real estate, and that business is going to go through a recalibration sooner rather than later. How bad can that be for our city?
It could be pretty bad. I tell you the story that nobody has written yet, John, including me, but I'm going to get to it eventually. Downtown office market now is caca. It's 25%, 30% vacancy. There's buildings that are going into receivership, being turned over to their lenders because there's no way for the owners to make a buck. At the same time, the mayor's allies are really pushing a concept to jack up the real estate transfer tax. They want to raise money to help build affordable housing. That's certainly a lot of a goal. I understand it, but it would take almost 3 cents out of every dollar that you get when you sell an office building. Well, in the middle of this collapse down here, where people are trying to keep their heads above water, to put a big new tax on them is not exactly out of the good book of how to incent business to invest in your town. He's going to have to deal with stuff like that, and he's going to have to make some real hard decisions. He hasn't made that one yet. That's what his allies have floated. But there's a whole bunch of stuff like that coming down the road. You can help people, and you can deal with some needs that clearly need to be dealt with, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to shoot the golden goose either.
If Illinois, as you wrote last week, has hit a record jobs level, passing our pre-COVID peak, why is there still so much negativity regarding the economy, not only nationally, obviously, but here in Illinois?
Because we all like to collectively gripe, John. That's much of the truth.
My industry's based on it.
Yeah, you got it. Plus, the fact of the matter is that while Illinois did hit a new record level, we hit it almost a year later than the country hit a new record level. And farther than that, behind states like Florida and Texas that conservatives like to talk about. Hey, come down here. There's no regulations. There's no taxes are low and whatever. They've been growing a lot faster than us. And there's answers to all of that. I'm not sure I want to locate my business in a town like Dallas where it's been above 110 degrees now for 3 weeks in a row.
I'll pass.
Or Florida, which one year or another is just going to get completely blown away by hurricanes. I'll take a good old Chicago blizzard anytime over those. But it gives, when people are looking for a reason to be unhappy, they look at stuff like that.
Greg Hinz, thanks very much for your time on this Monday, and we appreciate it. We'll read more in Crain Chicago Business.
Always a pleasure, John.
Take care.